Welcome to the Acts 29 podcast with Dr. Adam Flint, Vice President of Acts 29 Church Planting. Acts 29 is an organization and global network of churches that exists to plant churches worldwide. Now here's this episode with your host, Adam Flint.
Well, welcome back to the Acts 29 podcast. Today we got Brian Howard. How are you, man?
Good. Great to be with you today, Adam.
Good. Everybody knows, but Brian is the president of Acts 29 and steering and leading where we're going and the team. And so it's great to have you.
Awesome to be here. We're here in Dallas at a huge Acts 29 conference that's sold out, and really excited to be here recording this podcast today.
That is awesome. So I just wanted to get in, talk about a little bit your session and drive down a little bit deeper on some of that stuff. And so we're going to post your talk, and then so people can go and watch that, and then we'll just kind of dive deeper on that thing if it works for you.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. So when you look at church planting in general, like kind of the broader, even beyond Acts 29, what are some things you've seen, and where do you see it right now?
It's a great question. You know, I think coming out of COVID, we all wondered, what's going on in church planting right now? Are there church planters? Are people preparing to plant churches? And even in the probably 5 to 7 years before COVID, we were dialoguing a lot around, are there still planters to plant churches? Mm-hmm. Because if you look at back when you planted and I planted, Adam, back in the day, a lot of us came out of youth ministry or college ministry right into church planting. And we're just not seeing that in the same way in the last decade, say, or 12 years. So 2020 hits, and it feels like, wow, do we have any church planters? And people that have been preparing, all of a sudden on the sidelines, a lot of small churches who hadn't survived yet or hadn't maybe reached sustainability yet, closing in 2020, 2021. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm doing this interview in 2021, people are saying, are we going to plant churches? And we're certainly hoping so and believing that this is what we need to continue to do. But the pipeline was essentially just almost nil in 2020, 2021, maybe even 2022, because it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, that engine's got to rev up. And
the incubation, you're thinking about church planting, you're praying about it. So I think things started to turn, say, probably in about 2023. Adam, you joined us here a couple years ago, 11/22, planting churches for a lot of years. And all of a sudden, what we're seeing, I mean, not really all of a sudden, but now I should say, we're seeing an overwhelming amount. I say overwhelming like it's negative. It's not negative. A massive swell in people interested in church planting and church planting enthusiasm, to the point where it's like, wow, it feels like there was this whiplash effect. Yep. And we had nothing even before COVID. And all of a sudden, we've got, as you know, because you and I work together every day, so many planters now, men excited to plant churches, people excited to be a part of church plants, spiritual enthusiasm everywhere, that I would say right now, where are we in the church planting world? We have tremendous opportunity, tremendous momentum right now.
Yeah, you're right. It's not sudden, but it does feel like things shifted quickly.
A tipping point, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way. Like we hit that tipping point in the last 12 or 18 months that it shifted. And so you talked about this in your session, but where do you see Acts 29 going over the next 2, 3 years, 4 years in terms of church planting and as a network? Like you've got a pretty clear direction that you want to lead us.
Yeah, we have tremendous opportunity in front of us right now. And when I say we, I don't mean we, the Acts 29 organization alone. I mean we being all of us. Yeah. Those of us who are in my session, those of us who are a part of Acts 29, those of us who are interested in church planting because we believe that it's biblical and transformational and effective, and that through church plants, God does amazing things. We have a tremendous opportunity in front of us. Now, why is that? I think there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, there's spiritual interest that exists right now We've all read about it. We've all seen the headlines. I mean, it's been on like CBS Morning News and British newspapers and French newspapers.
Sure.
We've seen these headlines that are talking about spiritual interest. And I think at one point, some of us might have thought, I wonder if that's just in certain segments or certain parts of the United States or the world. What we're seeing now is that that's really widespread. Spiritual interest.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that too, Adam, right?
For sure. I mean, I've got a daughter that's in college, and I'm getting to experience it as a dad firsthand, kind of through her. I have a son that's just out of college. I mean, you've got him in that same stage. But even just the last few days, reports of what's going on in France and places that 5-10 years ago we would not be having this conversation.
Right.
It would have been like the soil is dry, it's so hard, and it seems like things have tipped and changed.
Yeah. Now, maybe you're wondering, if you're listening to this today, what does that have to do with church planting and where Acts 29 is going in the next couple of years? Well, first of all, just understand, when spiritual awakening or spiritual movement is happening, when God is stirring people and drawing people to himself, that's tremendous opportunity, period. We want to get involved in what God's doing. We believe God's called us to share the gospel, to make disciples, to plant churches, to teach people to obey, right? Teach people to be in right relationship with God. So the first thing is we've got tremendous opportunity right now. Now, another amazing thing is, Adam, you and I both know, because again, we work together every day on this, is we have over 400 men in the Acts 29 pipeline. Now, when you got here, Adam, how many men do you think were in the pipeline then when you first stepped into this role?
We knew about 100. And then as we got clarity on what the pipeline was, I think that grew a little bit. And I mean, so even if we said, 18 months ago, a year ago was 200, and now we're over 400.
Yeah.
So that's not just kind of figuring out where everybody is. You can only account for so much of that. I mean, there has been a growth of people wanting to be a part of church planting.
Yeah, we work really hard to make sure our numbers are right and that we're not exaggerating or making numbers up. We're not doing pastor math at all. We, as of a couple of weeks ago, we had 413 men in our church planting pipeline. A year ago, we did an event here in Dallas, a fundraising event, and none of us remember the exact number. It was 203 or 206, something like that. 20 something. 1 year ago, half of the men in our church planting pipeline, and really growing by probably 5 to 10 men a week at this point that are interested in planting churches at some stage of the pipeline process. So think so far, tremendous opportunity externally.
Yeah.
God's bringing us church planters in an amazing way. We have a really great team at Acts 29 too. I mean, Adam's on our team. He's interviewing me today, but Adam oversees all church planting, oversees all 400 of these men in the pipeline, as a team that's working to get these churches planted off the ground. So what's coming in the next 2 years for Acts 29? As I talked about in my session, we're looking to plant 200 churches in the next 3 years. I mean, 200 churches like over the finish line, planted,
launched, like not just assessed, not just identified,
just a guy in college ministry who's thinking about planting a church, but like we've moved them over the line.
Yeah.
So I think of like we've scored a touchdown, to use an American football analogy. I don't know, we've scored a goal, worldwide football analogy. So we've moved them over the line, 200 churches in the next 3 years. Now you might say, wait, you've got 413 in the pipeline, but those men are at various stages of the pipeline. I mean, talk about, Adam, like what does the pipeline involve?
I mean, so the pipeline goes from identifying potential planners. So somebody that's just at like, maybe I'm interested, I'm sort of discerning a call. So that kind of identifying, recruiting, to training. So guys that are in apprenticeships, residencies, like, hey, I want to plant, but I need to be equipped for that. And then assessment, and then coaching, and they're launching somewhere in that assessment and coaching. And then we have a couple coaching. So you're right. When you say, hey, there's 413, they're not all pre-launch, but they are all somewhere in that I'm not self-governed, self-funded, self-replicating. They're all somewhere in that. And even with that, with guys kind of in that end stages, there still is a huge opportunity and a huge number on the front end.
The beginning of the funnel, top of the funnel.
Yeah, that we're asking God to move those guys, like you said, across the line. And
so you take that understanding of the pipeline. Our goal is to plant 200 churches in the next 3 years. Now you might say, how does that compare to what you've done in the past? I think, Adam, if my numbers are right, we planted 41 churches so far this year. Is that right?
51.
51.
41 outside. By the time we're recording this, 41 outside the U.S. and 10 or 11 inside the U.S.
All right, so 51 churches so far as we do this in late October 2025.
Right. Yep.
So 51 churches so far, and we hope to get to 60 before the year's over. Right. That's what we prayed for at the beginning of the year, a goal that we set, which would be awesome. But we see 200 new churches planting as a part of Acts 29 across the world, because we do plant churches worldwide. We try to say that a lot. Get that in your head.
Yep.
In the next 2 years. Yeah. So that's where we're headed in Acts 29.
Yeah. And that's a significant increase. I mean, that's a 20% increase a year, at least, to make that happen.
We also think it's a pretty conservative number, but it's super possible that we plant 250 or 275 churches, but we know if we can move, we're sort of getting the flywheel going here. If we can get, and this year's the beginning, but if we can get 200 churches across the line in the next 3 years, and again, I'm going to throw out another number to you here, but we really think we can plant 1,500 churches over the next 10 years. Now, that's 150 churches a year, so that's a lot. But if the ball gets rolling downhill, and we think it is, God continues to bring us church planters, we continue to see dollars come in, maybe we can plant 1,500 churches over 10 years.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.
So as you think about ways to be involved, I mean, because we are an organization, but we're a network, and we're networked together to plant churches worldwide. So as you think about churches inside the network, or individuals or churches outside the network, like how can we come together to do that?
Well, what I want to do is I want to say to you what I said in the session, which is get off the sidelines. Get off the sidelines, or put down the popcorn. All right. So a few years ago, there was an Ironman that came through our city, and we went out before Sunday morning worship services, and we watched all the Ironman athletes jump into the river to swim, and then we literally left. And I can't remember if I preached that day or not, but it would have been 3 times. I think I preached 3 services while the Ironman athletes were swimming, 2.2 miles, I think, and then biking 112 miles. And then we went back out that afternoon and we watched the running. So now this sounds horrible, but we literally took some popcorn with us. We're sitting on the side of the road watching.
This guy's running by.
Watching. I mean, there's still pictures of us most wanted at Ironman events, like the guy eating popcorn while we were struggling and throwing up during the running section of the Ironman. Now, the thing is that I sat next to the Ironman and I watched the Ironman. The longest race I've ever run is 13 miles, a half marathon. I've never done an Ironman. I would probably drown in the swimming section, but I think the analogy of get off the sidelines, get off the sidelines and get involved. Now, if you're in Acts 29, what does that mean? Yeah. If you're in Acts 29 church, what I would say is get all in. Get off the sidelines, get all in, build church-to-church partnerships, participate in cohorts, come to events, free up dollars for church planting. We're raising, as I explained, $6 million in the next 3 years, beyond what we're already taking in. We don't have the resources to get 200 new churches planted. So we need every church to own this, all in, to own it, to not just sit on the sidelines and eat popcorn, to not go, we've got an Acts 29 t-shirt on. Cool. We've got a Carhartt Acts 29 hat that's sitting behind us today. But we're all in with Acts 29. We're all in on this mission. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take all of us, and it's going to be you owning it, not eating popcorn, watching from the sidelines as the backup quarterback or whatever, but going, I'm in on this, participating in every part of it.
Yeah, that's great. What about, somebody listening to this podcast right now, or they came to the conference, just an individual, maybe they're in an Acts 29 church, but they're a member, or they just love the idea of the gospel going to the ends of the earth through church planting. How does somebody like that get involved in the next 3 years in Acts 29?
Yeah, so let's say you're part of an Acts 29 church, and I'm assuming that some of you listening today maybe aren't part of Acts 29 churches, but you're a part of an Acts 29 church. Encourage your church to dive all in, insofar as you have a voice.
Yeah.
And so encourage your church to dive in. Come to events. We've got events all the time. I mean, if Adam and I went to every Acts 29 event, we would never sleep in our own beds at night, And so there are things going on all of the time that you can get involved in with Acts 29. We've got trips to visit international church planters all of the time. Subscribe to, follow our social media feeds, subscribe to the newsletter so you know how to pray. We talk a lot about pray, give, go in church-to-church partnerships. You can start by just being aware and beginning to pray. Just this morning, I'm having breakfast, and Cristiano, who's our leader in Brazil, walks in and sits down with me at breakfast. I'm going to have dinner with Cristiano here coming up soon. So Cristiano sits down and starts to tell me about the work that's happening in Brazil. So the more you know about that, follow us on social media, find out what's going on, pray, encourage your church to get involved. Certainly, if God has given you financial means, we all contribute to our local churches, supporting our local churches financially.
Yep.
A lot of folks choose to give outside of the local church. In addition to that, we don't want you to replace that, but in addition to that, so if God's given you financial means to say, I could help support a church plant, we would love to be involved with you on that. You can talk to us about that because it's going to take a lot of people to raise dollars to get all these churches planted as well.
That's right. That's great. Okay, last one is, what about the guy that's sitting out there thinking, maybe I'll plant a church? I don't know. That, like, they've either seen their pastor do it or they came to the conference and they're thinking, maybe. How does that guy get in to church planting?
What would you tell that guy, Adam? I
knew you were going to do that.
What would you tell that guy as the guy who leads church planting in Acts 29? What would you tell him to do?
I would tell that guy, and I would tell pastors who have their eye on somebody in their church the same thing, which is the earlier you can identify that person or that sense of call and let us know. So you can go on acts29.com, email us. We will get you in touch with the right regional person if you want to get into, and we'll help you find where you are in the pipeline and the best spot for you. So if that's discerning your call or getting trained or assessed, or maybe you just launched, we can help you figure out geographically who's closest to you so that relationally you're super connected, and where in the pipeline you are for your next best step. And so that's what I would say is contact us, let us get you to the right people, and the earlier the better. Because I think often guys think, well, I need to wait until that sense of call is super solid, or I'm ready to plant, or I'm ready to apply for assessment. And those are wonderful. If you're there, that's great. But if you're also the guy that's just out of college and you're like, I think I'm years from planting. Is it really worth saying I want to plant if I'm not going to plant for 3, 4, 5 years? And I would go, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like the earlier, the better.
I think about my own journey in terms of church planting. So I was a youth pastor on a staff, worship leader, youth pastor, sort of jack of all trades, did a bunch of things, college pastor, young adult pastor. And when people say, hey, what was your planting journey? I just taught a class at Talbot School of Theology on this recently, and I walked through my church planting journey. It's not completely clear to me the first moment that I started thinking I should plant a church. So as I think about this, this was 2000, the year 2000. Let's think about this 25 years later. I think God planted that thought in my mind. God somehow stirred in my mind the desire to plant, but I didn't even know anybody who'd planted a church. Yeah. Maybe that's you today. Maybe you're in a church that's been around for 30 years, 40 years. I mean, you're obviously listening to this podcast or watching us today, and so you're somewhat familiar or interested with church planting. What I did is I started to talk to church planters, and what Adam said is exactly what you should do, but just repeating a little bit of my journey, it took me 2 or 3 years talking to church planters, meeting with people. I mean, I found a guy who'd planted 3 churches. I didn't know any church planters.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
found a couple of books by our friend Ed Stetzer, who we're both friends with, and I read those. There's a lot better information out there today.
Mm-hmm.
So start to pray, start to cultivate that, and reach out to us when you're ready.
Yeah. You just saying that, I was doing the math and I was thinking, I was 23 when I first dawned on me, like, maybe this is what I want to do. And so, and I think we've had this conversation where I have thoughts of like, what if somebody hadn't taken the risk to like pull me aside and saw something or cultivated that thing in me? Like, and just so, earlier better.
And we need men that want to plant churches, and then we need men and women that want to be part of church plants, and we need lead planters that want to be a part of leadership teams in local churches, right?
Absolutely. I think, that just reminded me, one of the things we did on the Acts 29 website this year, which I think is really cool, is we've always had a find a church button, but you can go out there now and there's 2 different color dots. There's these black dots that are out there that are existing Acts 29 churches, and now there's blue dots that are out there that represent church plants in the pipeline.
Wow.
And so if, just what you're saying, if you're not a lead planter, but you want to go be a part of like say you're moving to Dallas or Southern California, you could go out there and you could find an existing church, but you could also go find a church plant and jump into that and pour in to that and help church planting.
Awesome. Which you could change the trajectory of that church plant.
Completely.
The people that were with us, you and I, Adam, when you planted and I planted, the people that were with us in those early days, we could not have gotten churches planted without them.
Oh, and to this day, I mean, if any of them called me to this day, I would drop almost anything.
Yeah.
And, decades later, still do that. So, hey, one last thing. I know it has been a crazy season. What are you doing for fun right now?
For fun right now, it's a great question.
Just pure Brian enjoyment.
I'm really into fitness. So,
hey,
because I'm in my 50s now, so I'm into fitness, eating well, which sounds you might feel like that sounds boring, but I don't know. And it's interesting. My whole family's kind of gotten involved in fitness, so. Lift weights with my 22-year-old son probably 5 or 6 days a week, really just trying to take care of the body that's God's given me. I think is the importance, if you're going to be involved in ministry and you want to, let's say you're married and you want a healthy marriage and you want to be like me, I have 4 grown kids. I'm just about taking care of what God's given me.
Yeah.
So a lot of fitness stuff. I do like watching football, so I know you're a Florida fan. They're not winning this year, so.
Well, there's new hope now, this coach thing.
There's new hope. So I like watching football when I get the chance, but right now, a lot of fun around fitness and any activity, so.
Well, you look great.
Appreciate it, man.
You're doing great. Keep going. I love it. It's inspiring.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks for being here today. And thanks for where you're leading this network with just such bold, courageous vision and leadership and direction and tenacity towards that. I think we're going to look back in 3 years and 200 will have just been the starting point of this
Fantastic.
thing. And
all right, Adam.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Acts 29 podcast. If you want to connect with Acts 29 or find out more about planting a church with Acts 29, you can go to acts29.com. Go ahead and hit like on the podcast and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks again for joining us.